everybody. Welcome to Horror Movie Yearbook. I'm your host, Willie. And with me is my co-host, Mr. Tim Long. Tim, what's up?
Excellent job introing. We were shown up last week by Nikki.
Yeah.
I listened to that back when I was posting the Tiny Terror this week.
She crushed it.
I was like, what?
I know.
What is this? We can't have her doing this out here.
No, she's too good. Yeah, welcome to Horror Movie Yearbook, guys and gals, and we're glad to have you here. We're going to be doing just kind of a grab bag, free-for-all, fun type episode this time around. We hope you guys enjoy those. We enjoy doing them. And, it's if we're being honest, it's less homework for us on occasion to do stuff like this. So hopefully you dig it. Hey, if you've got ideas for the show, if you're tired of this grab bag stuff, if you want more grab bag stuff, if you want more brackets, you want more...
You know what I've always wanted to do?
What's that?
I've even thought about just like making up names. I've always wanted to do a mailbag episode.
Oh.
So if you have any questions for the mailbag...
There you go.
Not like personal questions, just like questions.
You can ask them.
Oh, yeah, if we feel comfortable. We've shared a lot of personal things on this podcast, so
yeah,
I can't imagine much we would not be comfortable sharing.
It's not too much.
Yeah, there are certain ones that you'll have. I
lost my virginity on a couch.
See, I don't. That might be new.
I shared that.
Well, if you want to write in horrormovieyearbook@gmail.com, you could ask for more of that story. We're not going to give it away here. Maybe we'll put that on Patreon, a little after dark, HMY after dark.
Yes. Names will be changed, but otherwise,
I'm sure the story of any virginity loss story is always very saucy, very hot. Like it'll be like a Penthouse forum.
You guys let me know if you want to know the movie that was on. Well,
boy,
it was going down.
That's a tease. That's a good tease.
Yeah.
What a dated reference that was by me. The Penthouse Forum.
That's good. I'm not mad. Hey, Taxi Cab Confessions. But yes, if you want to hear more about my my adolescent sex life and other topics, please send us some feedback. Email us. We're at horrormovieyearbook@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter at HMYearbook. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're all over on YouTube. Probably don't comment on one of the YouTube videos. If you want us to answer a question, I doubt we'd notice that as much. But
yeah, I don't. I haven't been monitoring.
Your best bet's to email us or tweet at us. I feel like those are the two ways that we have the best engagements.
Yeah.
So I don't advise Twitter most of the time, but in this case,
I hop on. And once in a while, like last week, it was very nice. I did not realize. Who was it that alerted us? John.
Yes.
John alerted us that Julian Sands is he's gone missing. It's kind of sucks. Yeah, it's going on 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
I read a story today because I've been keeping up, and John alerted us on there, and I had no clue.
Yeah.
But I was keeping an eye on things, and it's like going on the third week, and they're like, "Well, we're hoping he prepared for the worst, and he's still up in the mountains surviving." But
it doesn't.
It's not
sound
looking
good.
Not looking good. But
I hope we have a miracle situation on our hands. But prayers up for Mr. Sands.
Absolutely.
So yeah, send us some feedback. Tim.
Yeah, let's. What's up?
What are we doing?
Let's talk about the Game Nerds real quick.
Yeah,
because
I love talking about the Game Nerds.
I want to shout them out. They've got a couple of horror-related things.
They do.
They're talking about Dead Space, the new Dead Space game. That episode is out now, and they are also. It seems like they're keeping up on The Last of Us.
The show, yeah.
Yeah, because their last episode, they talked about episodes 2 and 3. So check those guys out.
I've heard it's pretty great.
Yeah, I've been keeping up on it. It's very good.
I heard episode 3 was very good.
Yes. You want my hot take?
Yeah.
I liked episode 2 more than episode 3. I thought episode 2 was phenomenal, and episode 3 was very good.
Are the fungus guys scary and cool and well done? The zombies, the fungus things?
Yes, and I think that maybe, you know what it is? Episode 2 was just kind of more my speed, if you get my...
A little more action-y and stuff?
A little more action-y, a little bit more plot and narrative focused. 3 was very good. I'm not going to... What I like about the show, too, is it doesn't feel like a super long movie in a way. It feels like each episode has felt different so far with different stuff going
That's
on.
what I like.
I like watching TV shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when they're TV shows. And this has done a very good job of feeling like telling its larger story, but each episode has felt.
I do miss that about traditional shows. I miss I always think of like Buffy when I think of this for whatever reason. I miss that like overarching season plot that carries you from through the season, but you know, it's also broken up into kind of individual episodes and stories that have their own beginning, middle, and ends. I miss that. It doesn't happen as much. The Disney shows are really guilty of that.
The Disney shows are really guilty of it. One of the worst offenders I thought was Picard.
Okay.
Picard just feels like the first couple seasons have just felt like a way too long movie.
Star Trek script that got drug out.
Yeah, just a movie that's way too long. I've been happy with the way this has gone. So
cool. Good.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's an art to good television shows.
Yeah,
and it's different in each.
She-Hulk.
So.
Since I was ragging on Disney, She-Hulk actually felt like what I was missing a little bit.
And you know what? Like just because it is like it feels like a super long movie doesn't mean I don't like it.
It's just not what I want from a TV show.
Yes, right.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. Well, check out the Game Nerds.
Also, real quick, I saw this too. Again, I don't mean to. This is the second thing I brought up. That's kind of a downer, but he was 81 years old. I just wanted to mention George P. Wilbur, the actor, stuntman. He played the Shape in Halloween 4 and 6. Played Michael Myers. So he passed away today at the age of 81, and I wanted to say rest in peace to him because did you know what he all of the stuff this guy has been in? It's like a crazy career of so he was
he's like a stuntman legend,
stunt double, stunt coordinator. I didn't realize that was this. I'm gonna just rattle off some of the stuff. Planet of the Apes, Blazing Saddles, Towering Inferno, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, Beastmaster, Poltergeist, Firestarter, Ghostbusters, Fletch, Reanimator, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, Dr. Giggles, there's the classic right there, Mars Attacks, Spider-Man, Cheap Thrills. Travis Stephen, he was Travis Stephen, who was the producer. He's a director, too. He did the CM Punk movie, and he did... I'm blanking on it right now. The Barbara Crampton vampire movie that I really liked a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he directed that, but he was his father-in-law. I guess I didn't know that either. But yeah, Halloween 4. He's one of the. So how many people now have played Michael Myers of the Shape multiple times? Because I think he was the first technically. Because Nick Castle took a very long break in between.
Yeah, Nick Castle wasn't involved in 2.
Right.
I think he would have been the first person, and then it would have been Tyler Mane.
And then James Jude Courtney.
Yes.
Has played him multiple
times. And then
times.
I guess Castle technically now has done it too.
So he was the one. So he played him in 4, then he played him again in 6. I think he was like a stunt coordinator. He did some stunt work on 5.
But didn't play.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll say this, too, he's the one I've seen probably the most, his performances, because 456 ran 24 hours a day on AMC growing up. So he's probably the one I'm most familiar with. And
he's probably the best. His Michael Myers in 4 probably feels the closest to that original Castle performance.
Right.
Well, I think. Yeah, the mask isn't great. That's the bummer. I don't love the mask in that movie.
In 4?
Yeah. 5 is phenomenal.
Yeah, he missed 5.
Yeah, maybe he saw the mask and he's like, I'm going to step back.
Let's see what else. I'll come back. Show me what you got for 6.
Do better next time. I'm not wearing that thing. Or maybe that was the problem, was the mask was made for him.
Right.
And then he couldn't do it. And so that's why it's so ill-fitting on the guy who actually... Anyway, Don Shanks, I believe, is... Don Shanks is 5? I believe 5, yes. Gosh, I think I'm right about that too, which is really sad. Anyway. R.I.P.
Yeah,
Mr. Wilbur.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I've seen him a couple times in certain interviews, and I remember he was the one too with Danielle Harris who would take his mask off to show her he wasn't so scared, I'm a real person, because she would get kind of scared on set. So
that's cool.
By all accounts, he was a very sweet guy, and he made a mark in movies. I just wanted to mention that because I saw it before.
Planet of the Apes, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think he's one of the. I think he's he's in Ghostbusters too. I think he's in the lawyer scene with the Scolari brothers.
Awesome. Love that scene.
It's the Scolari brothers. That's not him, but
no. That's great though.
So yeah, rest in peace. Quite the career. All right. Sorry. What else? Oh, what else we got going? You want to talk about what we've been watching?
Sure. Let's do it.
Willie, what have you been watching?
So I'll briefly get through the non-horror stuff because I want to focus on the horror, or horror, tangentially horror, I guess.
Yeah.
I did watch Bullet Train. I thought it was a ton of fun.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah.
I had a good time with it. I never thought I would say this in a sentence. The movie's at its best when Aaron Taylor Johnson is on screen.
This is scaring me. So.
It is though.
It's scaring me because I've heard his name thrown around for James Bond, and I'm really worried.
Yeah. Well, he's very good in Bullet Train.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've seen him, and I'm like, wow. All right.
ATJ.
All right. Yeah, him and Brian Tyree Henry are really funny. So I checked that out and liked it. And now onto the horror, I guess in the same realm. I did watch a heavy metal documentary.
Okay.
Which, horror and heavy metal go together.
For sure.
It was a documentary about the guitar player Randy Rhoads. Probably most famously known as when he played for Ozzy Osbourne. After Ozzy Osbourne was kicked out of Black Sabbath for his issues, Ozzy went on to release a ton of albums, still releasing music. But that first one, like Bark at the Moon and just like Crazy Train and just amazing Ozzy music out there.
Yeah.
I'm an Ozzy fan. I like Ozzy. Mr. Crowley, oh, love it. But Randy Rhoads, what I did not know about him was that, first of all, I never realized how young he was. He was like 22 when he died. And I also did not realize that he got his start in Quiet Riot. He was the guitar player for Quiet Riot, which I did not know. Not that I knew a ton about him personally before seeing this, but yeah, I did not realize that. I'd always just kind of known him as, Ozzy's guitar player. But it's a cool documentary. It's just one of those. He's one of those guys who, like, if you are familiar with his work, then generally you have him on the list of like one of the best guitar players like all time. He's up there certainly. But a lot of people might not realize who he is, And so I thought it was really interesting. And he seemed like a really cool guy, a really incredibly talented, but incredibly humble and always like trying to learn more. Like, despite the fact that he was as good as he was always trying to push himself, like, to learn more about being a guitar player.
You say he was young when he died too.
I think he was 22.
22, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So he was killed in a plane crash.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I didn't know. I knew he died in a plane crash. I did not know the details of the plane crash. They stopped the tour bus at somebody's house. It was a record producer or somebody's house to rest up in the middle of the tour, and somebody the guy owned a plane, like a small 4-passenger plane or something.
Yeah.
And one of the numbskulls there was like, I know how to fly, and like started taking people up for rides in the plane and like skimming really close to the tour bus and stuff. And then like Randy Rhoads went up there and another woman also, and he just got too brazen with flying the plane. He crashed it into the mansion.
Jeez.
Yeah. Crazy. Very sad. Very
sad.
I
did not know the details of that.
I didn't either. I just hear plane crash and I assumed that it was like a group of musicians were like a a Day the Music Died, Buddy Holly type situation, but no, it was not that.
Didn't the guy from Skinner die in a plane crash too?
I think a few of those guys died in a bus accident.
Was it bus? Okay.
Yeah, a couple of guys in the band, I believe. Yeah, but no, it was interesting. They get into there's some fun bits about how Eddie Van Halen and Randy Rhoads did not like each other.
Oh no,
at all. Like not even at all.
Well, they would have been coming up around the same time. Yep. Yeah.
Playing the same clubs and stuff, and Eddie Van Halen made some comments about how he didn't think Randy Rhoads was all that good like, yeah, he's not as good as people make him out to be. And
Yeah.
Eddie Roth's like pissed. Yeah, so.
It's kind of funny how there's kind of
Eddie's one of the best of all time too,
but like you get that feels like sports.
Yes.
To me. That feels like one
like the
athlete.
Jordan documentary.
Yeah, it feels like, but you get those people that are so driven to be the best at what they do that sometimes they will not give other people credit for
anybody else who is trying to be the best is,
or they'll begrudgingly do it, or they'll find reasons to hate the other. That's like when like Michael Jordan would like make up things in his head. Like in the documentary, he like made up something that somebody said, and the guy was like, "I never said that at all." And Michael finally admitted, like, "Yeah, he never said that. I just used it as motivation."
It's insane,
and it's psychotic, but it's also like that's a little peek inside the mind of some of these
somebody who's that much
super talented and super driven. Like
it's kind of amazing.
Eddie Van Halen,
yeah, like Eddie.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that was cool. I kind of kept up the documentary kick, and I watched Pennywise, the story of it, which I had started watching at one point, and I like got pulled away, as can happen sometimes, and I never like jumped back into it. So I finally watched the whole thing.
Are these both on Prime?
Yes, these are both free on Prime.
Yeah, the one is Randy Rhoads' Reflections of a Guitar Icon, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
And this is Pennywise.
The story of it.
The story of it. Okay.
Yes, this is from the same guys who did the documentary on the Pet Sematary film.
And have you seen that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good. The problem with the Pet Sematary one is they couldn't get any footage rights to the movie.
Gotcha.
So they have to rely on like still photography and stuff, and it's
right.
It's a well done documentary, but there's major limitation there with not being able to use clips and stuff. In my opinion, this one is able to do that. So
cool.
But no, it's great. I mean, it's a lot of fun seeing the child actors grown up. It's pretty cool to see them all like. Because, I mean, most of those kids, there's a handful I knew from other, Seth Green, obviously, Jonathan Brandis, another R.I.P.
Yeah.
And then Emily Perkins, I knew from, like, the Ginger Snaps movies and stuff. But for the most part, the kids were kids I did not know from any other project. So it was kind of fun to see them, like, at the ages they would be if they were the Grown-Up Losers Club. It's kind of neat. And then, they interview all the surviving cast members, basically. I mean, everybody. John Ritter obviously has passed, so that he was not involved, and Harry Anderson as well. But I think the rest of the adult cast is all interviewed.
Represented, yeah.
I believe so. Tim Reed, who's one of my favorites. I love Tim Reed.
Yeah.
He's interviewed, and they all have some really cool... They all have some really cool memories of the filming of the movie and the development of it, and Romero's involvement in it early on, and why he wound up leaving, and it's just it's a cool documentary, and Tim Curry is an absolute delight.
Oh, good.
To hear. He's had some health problems and stuff, but he's interviewed, and he seems to be spry, man. He's I know he's some physical limitations, but man, he's still got it.
Yeah,
he does. He's telling a story. He's telling a story about when they were shooting the. I'll leave you with this. This is fun. When they were shooting the Georgie scene with the paper boat, and they did the first take, and the little boy was getting upset and saying, "Tim, you're scaring me. Please, you're scaring me." And then Tim Curry's response is, "Well, it'll save you some acting, won't it?"
so the opposite of Halloween 4 with Danielle Harris.
Yes. Yeah. Just a total dick. And he says, like, he's the one saying that he
did it. Yeah.
He's proudly Tim Curry rules. But yeah, it was fun. And there's, of course, a big section, like an entire section of the documentary devoted just to the spider.
Perfect.
What went wrong?
Good.
They all have different opinions on what went wrong there, depending on who you ask. It's kind of fun hearing everybody not blame other people, but like the effects guys are like, "Spider was great." Like
This is honestly though. You touch on something that's one of my favorite parts of any like retrospective documentary, which is it's always somebody else's.
Yeah,
like it's always somebody else's fault.
It's somebody else either. It's always somebody different taking credit for something.
Yeah,
or always somebody blaming. Yeah,
I love the Scream Factory DVDs.
Yes.
They're great, and I love the interviews, and I love the people involved with them. But I swear to you, it's 95% of those documentaries. There is a section where they go, the marketing guys just didn't get it.
So sweet.
Like, yeah, you know what, guys? There's probably not much you can do with some of these movies.
Yeah. So I've seen some of the movies that Scream Factory releases, and I'm not sure anybody would fully get them. That's funny. But yeah, the Pennywise doc was cool. And then they've done a couple other ones as well. Hell on Earth, the story of Hellraiser 3, which is really good. I have not. I've seen the Hellraiser 1 and 2 docs.
Yeah,
I think they're called Leviathan.
Yeah.
Those are on Shudder.
Yeah,
but I have not seen the Hellraiser 3 one. Is that on Prime as well or no? I mean, is it free or is it? I wonder. Didn't see it listed, but.
And you know what? To be honest with you, I may be getting this mixed up with the Leviathan doc.
Okay.
Either way, I'm sure this is good too. But they also did the "You're So Cool, Brewster," the Fright Night documentary.
The Fright Night one,
which I've not seen.
No,
but
I want to see that.
I wanted to watch the Pennywise one. I just haven't got around to that yet. And they did a RoboCop one. It looks like.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
There's another group that did a Return of the Living Dead series documentary retrospective that I want to watch.
Okay.
And they also did, I believe, a Creepshow documentary.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd like to check those out.
I think that's
too.
on either Shudder or Prime, one of the two, I want to say.
Yeah, I want to watch these because I love this kind of stuff. And you don't get, sadly, like other than, like your Scream Factory type, like boutique releases. I don't know what else to call them. Your kind of niche collector releases. You don't get this stuff on Blu-rays anymore.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice to be able to watch this kind of stuff.
And just so you know, the Hellraiser 3 one, I think I was getting confused in my head with Leviathan. So I thought it was like the first.
Oh, Leviathan's very good.
Hellraiser 3, I think that was included in a DVD. Like their documentary was included. What they directed was included in like a DVD release of Hellraiser 3.
But
Leviathan is very good. Yes.
Very good.
Yes. But I don't think it was that. I want to give them credit for it. So do you have what are your favorite like documentaries like that? Like retrospective style documentaries?
Oh man.
Do you still hold Crystal Lake Memories up as like kind of the gold standard?
It's as good as it gets.
Yeah, I'm in the same. Yeah.
And I mean, to be fair, the Nightmare one by those guys is very good too. The Nightmare on Elm Street
Never
one.
Sleep Again.
Yeah,
that is really good.
Those two are both really good. They also did Still Screaming, which is good, but Still Screaming was like before they did those, and they hadn't quite hit.
Right, I would agree. Yeah,
Still Screaming is very good.
Yeah,
but it's not
the
quite
Scream
as,
documentary. Yes, is that the first 3 going into 4?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah. I would like them to go back and like
do it again. Yeah,
do it again.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, but yeah, those two are kind of the gold standard. The other one that I always think about too, that I think is worth mentioning, are Document of the Dead, which was filmed during the filming of Dawn '78. And it's so insane to see like footage of that movie like as it's being shot. Like it's like that's like a historical record in my opinion. Like it's super important. Yeah, Document of the Dead's really good. So yeah, those are some of my favorites.
What was the other one? Oh, you know what? This is not a retrospective, so never mind. But it reminded me they put In Search of Darkness 3 up on Shudder, and like those are like kind of exhaustive in some ways. I think they're fun. You only get a little. They're exhaustive like with the amount of what they cover, but not necessarily movie. They're fun watches. I like them in the same way that I like the history of horror stuff and the scariest movie stuff. Yeah, I like
those. Are never my favorites.
Right.
Yeah.
I like if I want to dive in deep. Yeah, I'm going Crystal Lake Memories route, but.
The longer the better.
Yeah.
I will watch hours upon hours of documentary on stuff that I'm interested in. Like I don't get tired of it. I just take a break and it's wonderful. But yeah, Crystal Lake Memories is kind of like as good as you can. I don't know how you can outdo that.
Are there any franchises we haven't got one
Halloween?
Before? That's okay. I couldn't. Yeah,
that would be a beast.
Yes.
Like
We've never really had one for TCM either, have we?
No, I don't think so. That would be a strange one too, man.
There are some amazing stories from that first one.
Yeah.
Though that first,
you could just do a full-on documentary at that first movie.
The Gunnar that reminds me, the Gunnar Hansen book called Chainsaw Confidential is awesome, and it has a ton of really, really fun backstage.
That's awesome.
Or behind the scenes stories, not backstage.
That's awesome.
Yeah, about where they shot. I mean, they shot They shot on a weed farm.
That's right. John Larroquette was paid with a joint.
Yes.
Which is pretty sweet.
Yes, he's been all over the place telling that story because he's got the new Night Court out. And, it's an excuse for him to talk a little TCM.
Amazing.
Yeah,
man.
John Larroquette, he's still on primetime TV.
Good
Millions watching him every week.
Good for him. he really pulled it off. But yeah, so that's and then I watched today actually. I watched American Scream, which is a documentary, another one on Amazon.
Is that the haunted house one?
Yes, but I've seen a couple haunter documentaries. This one I had not seen before. This is about home haunters. Like, there are like 2 or 3 different documentaries about like at-home haunters, and this one I had not seen.
Explain to me at-home haunters. I'm not familiar with this.
So it's not just somebody like putting up decorations for Halloween.
Okay.
Even like elaborate ones. It's people who like convert their like driveways and garages and backyards into like haunted houses every year for Halloween. So like with like walkthroughs. Like people like walk like when you pay to go to like one of these, haunted houses during Halloween season with actors in costumes and stuff. They do it at their house.
Okay.
Yeah. But like it's insane the amount of work and effort they put into this stuff. Like and like you can just tell like the one guy's wife is very tired. she's really
what a bad, yeah.
She's happy that he's so happy and that he's got a passion, but she's also pretty exhausted.
It's one of those things where she's like, yeah, this was not in the wedding vows.
No. So it was interesting. It was fun. Yeah, I mean, pretty light, but kind of fun to see. Man, some of these guys they're interesting characters. I think you have to be to put the amount of work they put into. I mean, they're building their own animatronics and like building like buildings, like architectural. Like it's crazy. It's nuts. The work they put into them. So,
you ever wanted to do that?
In a world with I mean, of course, it's in a world with unlimited
resources and energy
and time. so apparently I don't want to do it that badly.
I like the idea of doing stuff like this, but then like when I'm getting my Halloween decorations out every year,
it already.
I'm like, I gotta take these down. Like I actually love putting them up. Like putting them up is fantastic.
Putting stuff up is fun, but then I go, damn, I have to take it down.
I gotta take this down, and that's why the Christmas decorations stay up.
I gotta box it all up and shit. No, but I do have. I've always wanted to do every year to do a themed, like, setup in my yard. Like change it every year.
Mm.
I had an idea for the first one I want to do in my pipe dream of actually doing this one year is a Halloween 3 theme. I want to build a little Stonehenge section out of foam.
Okay.
Put it in the front, get some lights on it to make it look like it's lighting up and stuff. And then I want to set up an old, like, box TV.
Yeah.
In the front yard, and have it playing on a loop the Halloween 3.
Okay.
The Silver Shamrock jingle, and then I was hoping to get some, like some animatronic things and put the Halloween masks on them and have them like. Grabbing their heads and stuff like they're watching the.
You get some like fake snakes and fake like creepy crawlers.
You have one of the kids dead, with the snakes crawling out and stuff.
Yeah.
Like even like get like one of those remote control snakes that can crawl out of the mask at people. And then I would dress up as Connell Cochran, of course.
Just stand outside,
handing out candy. Welcome. Maybe have a jump scare situation where you have somebody dressed up as one of the robot guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to do a Scream one too.
I could. Yeah.
I wanted to have somebody literally in the Letterman's jacket tied up in a chair in my front yard, like from the beginning of the movie, and then have a phone like sitting on a table that like says "pick me up," and then when they pick it up, I call them and I start doing the, yeah.
I just wanted you to know you do this, and I'm going to come here. I'm going to film the documentary and interview Nikki, and she's just going to be like, "I'm happy he's happy." She's going to be the lady from American Scream as you are dressed up as Colonel Cochran.
Stonehenge sacrifices must be made on Samhain. See, I'm practicing anyway. But no, if I did it, I could not. There are two settings for me when it comes to that kind of thing. You either half-ass it and just throw some fun, some cute, not even half-ass it, just throw some fun whimsical decorations up like I do. Throw some fake tombstones and some cobwebs up and a couple of jack-o'-lanterns and call it a day. Yeah. Or you go all out. There can be no in-between. So I just haven't pulled the trigger on all out. I probably won't. But anyway, Killer Clowns themed year would be really good too.
Yeah.
Tim,
yes.
What have you been watching?
All right, so we're gonna start in Japan. We're gonna do a little bit of bouncing around.
Oh my,
Japan.
Take me on a trip.
We are gonna start with a movie called Signal 100.
Signal 100.
So this is on Screambox. Now Screambox is the Bloody Disgusting streaming service.
I'm familiar with Screambox.
Terrifier too. So they had like a deal where like you could get 3 months for like $8, and I was like, that's what Terrifier 2 costs anyway. Pull the trigger, and I've gotten my money's worth just by watching Terrifier 2.
Everything else is just a bonus.
Everything else right now for the next couple months is a bonus. This is a movie that is new. It's a Screambox exclusive. It's new to America. It actually came out in Japan in 2019, so it's been out for a couple years.
Interesting.
This is the plot. So it's like a group of like high school students over in Japan, and they're hypnotized to commit suicide on unknown command. Oh. So think like the obvious comparison is Battle Royale. A lot of this,
sure. Yeah.
Something like Suicide Club too, as well as the other thing that came to mind. I had fun with it, and that's a weird thing to say.
Yeah. I got you.
Obviously, suicide is a sensitive subject, and so if you're sensitive to that, this is not the movie to watch because it plays some of it for thrills and even kind of laughs at one point. Like there's one where a guy puts a light bulb in his mouth and his head like expands, like it starts glowing and then it blows up, and you're like, it's the most ridiculous thing in the movie. You kind of laugh at it
because it's so insane.
It's also, but so there are some like funny deaths in that way, but then it is obviously it's dealing with suicide. It's kind of a downer. But it does a couple clever things. Like there's a kid that's he knows he knows kind of the triggers. He knows kind of the prompts for the people. Okay. He finds out what causes people to commit suicide, and he kind of uses them to his advantage to become like the last person standing. I thought that was kind of clever. It has a lot of Japanese horror trademarks. It's got things happening in a school. Suicide is actually, it's a
Japanese horror trademark. Yeah.
Trademark. The teacher hypnotizes them with a DVD. He shows them like a DVD. So it's got kind of that
technology,
that ring that kind of old. By now, it's like old technology DVDs. Yeah. So it's kind of like the VHS was back in the day.
But yeah, evil technology is a Japanese thing for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it kind of lost me a little bit more as it went along. It got a little bit more. It tones down. It gets a little bit more serious, and obviously that's the way these things go. It's not up there with something like a Battle Royale, though, even though it's pretty heavily, I would say, kind of inspired by it. But I dug it. It's Signal 100. That's Signal on there.
100, okay. It's no Versus then.
No, it's not. It's not. But another similar. Rules. Yeah, another similar. And you can check out our Versus episode wherever you get your podcasts. That's right. And I think we uploaded that one to YouTube a long time ago. So
yes.
And when it came out. The other thing I have been watching is I'm in a. So here's my reasoning for this. I think I'm an anime respecter. I have never, outside of like Cowboy Bebop, which I really enjoyed, and like a couple episodes here and there of certain things.
Have
and
you
a couple
watched
movies.
the whole Cowboy Bebop?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the one anime that you've like
start to finish. Yeah, okay. I watched. Okay, and I really liked it. I've always like respected it, but there's part of me like as I age, I've been thinking to myself like I'm gonna be like I put myself in like my dad's shoes when superhero movies started coming out, because when he was younger, like superhero movies weren't a thing, and comic books were kind of their own little thing. And I start thinking, like, what's going to be like the big thing when I get old that I don't understand, that's going to be taking the world, like that's going to be huge at the box office, because superheroes are going to have their day, and I'm sure they'll still be made in 20 years.
But it won't be
like it has been for the last 10 or 15 years. And the two things that come to mind are video games. I think video game movies will probably grow.
We could finally get to that point where
they start to grow and take over. And the other thing I think of is anime, because like when I go to places where young people are, I do see a lot of like anime shirts,
manga everywhere.
Manga, anime shirts.
I wonder if it's just going to take that one American filmmaker to crack the code of how to really adapt an anime to.
So that's the thing, is comic book movies, superhero movies got off to they have a bumpy start, but like they had been around for, I mean, you had the old serials, but like that first Superman movie, the Donner Superman movie, was a respected movie at the time.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't winning Academy Awards for
no,
Best
but
Picture
people
or
liked
anything,
it, and it was commercially successful, and I think critically.
Yes. It's going to take something like that, and honestly, I mean, you can do it with some of the stuff that I've read and seen about. I mean, Cowboy Bebop has a lot of really like deep, interesting stuff in it. But it's going to take. I didn't watch the Netflix show. But it's going to take. I think with you, it's going to take something like that kind of live action to break into the mainstream, and I think it will happen at some point. But
I think it will too. I think it's just anime is just hard to adapt.
That's the thing. It's because it's also coming from a different culture too. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, I've been watching Demon Slayer on Netflix.
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Haven't seen it. But.
It's very geared towards kind of adolescent boys, teen boys. I believe it's called like a shonen manga is what it's called. But it's got there's some gorgeous animation. The plot is really cool. Like he's a demon slayer. He's running around. But you know what? Like these demons, like they give the demons backstories, and like you have some sympathy for the demon.
That's cool.
Sympathy for the devil, if you will. But also it's not like one episode is based around. It's not like a Demon of the Week style thing. They do it in kind of arcs as well. So you get a little bit more time with these stories and the characters involved in them. This is a fun show. I watch. I've just been kind of throwing it on, and it's something that I saw it. It's one of those things. I saw it on Netflix. I've always wanted to watch a little bit more anime, and I threw it on. So I do watch the dub, though. I'm a real casual when it comes to this.
Oh, I do. I watch dubs too.
Sometimes I'm doing. The thing is, like,
I'm probably working or doing chores.
I'm working. I'm doing stuff. When I have, honestly, when I watch most things now, I'm doing other things, so I can't. Unless it's late at night or early in the morning, like I can't throw on something where I have to.
No, it's
read.
It's pretty tough to pull it off anymore.
Right.
You know.
All right, so we're out of.
That's fantastic. I'm glad to hear it.
Last thing I wanted to touch on,
I'll watch Castlevania because it rules.
Oh, you know what? I did watch the first 2 seasons of Castlevania. It is
Yeah.
sweet. Yes, I got to watch the last one. So
yeah. Anyway,
Yellow Jackets, I finished. I wanted to mention that.
Awesome.
And I wanted to give you a heads up. And anybody else that was like, I don't want to pay for Showtime. Showtime's being folded into Paramount Plus, which is
the new name is Paramount Plus with Showtime.
with Showtime.
What the?
Why don't you just call it Paramount Plus and then put the Showtime branding just as a hub?
Part of the.
Yeah,
I don't.
It's like how they do it with a bunch of stuff, right?
It's because they're just going to keep it called that for a little while until people realize. But it's still very silly.
And this is what's going to happen. We've talked about this for a little bit. Like this is going to happen too. A lot of these streaming services are going to start to merge, and a lot of these premium channels that are on linear TV are going to start to team up with. I mean, HBO already has theirs, but eventually you'll see Stars go on Peacock or whatever. You know what I mean? So, but
it's bound to happen.
But now it is probably easier for it will be easier for a lot of people to watch and catch up before season 2 hits. And this is great. Like the show, it ended how I wanted it to. Like
that's awesome.
If I had a complaint, it's that the mystery probably unfolds a little slowly for my pace, but that's because I'm impatient too. So I'm really impatient. The performances, Melanie Linsky is really good. I mean, the performances across the board are.
Isn't Christina Ricci in it too?
She's so good at this. Yeah,
I love Christina. I miss Christina Ricci.
What's that?
I miss Christina Ricci.
She's been. She was just in Wednesday as well.
Was she? Okay.
She had a kind of a supporting role in Wednesday. And
That's fun.
She's fun in that too. She kind of plays similar characters in both.
Okay.
But she's really Yellow Jackets. Yeah, across the board, and the music is phenomenal. It's all 90s music.
Oh,
and,
wonderful.
Yeah, I think it's like the other thing with the mystery unfolding slowly too is like in this age of everything getting canceled, like shows getting canceled. Not
you're
just
kind of like guys, don't
we don't know how long you have to tell this story.
Yeah, don't get too ambitious.
When you were on Showtime, Showtime will let you go, but now you're teaming up with one of the big boys.
Now you're on Showtime plus Showtime.
Paramount Plus with Showtime, they can axe you anytime because these streamers are they're cutting the fat right now.
Dude, it's insane.
But I think this one that's kind of the thing is I kind of have to wait until something either gets renewed for at least another season or catches on enough with the mainstream that I'm like, okay, I can jump on here and feel safe.
Yeah, I don't jump right on things anymore. I can't do. I don't want to get so invested and then wind up like Nikki and I were watching Reboot.
Oh yeah,
on Hulu. I got canceled.
Yeah,
that's a bummer. I mean, we liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. The cast is very good.
Right.
So, but it was like oh shit, it's gone. Oh, all right.
Has Nikki ever watched Crazy Ex-Girlfriend?
I'm sure.
Okay, it's the one woman, Rachel Bloom, who's in Reboot.
Okay,
she is I think she was the creator, the head writer on that show, and it's kind of like a musical. It's a fantastic show. I think
I'll ask.
Yeah,
she's seen a lot of it.
Okay,
by it I mean TV. It's amazing.
That's all right. I get it now.
It's incredible how many shows she's watched.
Yeah.
I don't even know how many it's nuts. It's amazing. Anyway.
The last thing I want to touch on, because it's going to lead us into our big discussion here.
Yeah.
It's not really going to be. It's going to be a kind of fun segment here because I don't have a ton to say about this. It's The Lair. This is Neil Marshall's new movie. Neil with his wife, Charlotte Kirk, who he's made his last couple movies with. I think she co-wrote this one.
I thought he was married to... female director, not her, but it. God, anyway, sorry.
No. Now you have me Googling it because I don't want to get this wrong here.
Yeah, maybe I'm mistaken. I could be very, very mistaken.
Okay, so they're not. I don't think they're married.
Okay,
but they are. While living in L.A., Kirk met film and director Neil Marshall. They began dating in 2018. They got engaged in 2019.
Okay,
so maybe they are. So they've done their last couple movies. They did a movie called The Reckoning together in 2020. Okay.
What was the
all right, now we're looking up
the horror anthology that was all female directors.
XX?
Yes. I thought that Neil was married to one of the directors from that film. I could be. I must be completely wrong.
No.
Yeah.
Is it?
I don't know. We're probably on a tangent now that we don't even need to be on.
I'm looking this up.
Axel,
so Roxanne are you thinking of Jovanka Vukovic?
No, Axel something or is her name.
So there's Roxanne Benjamin, Karen Kusama, and Saint Vincent. Those were the directors from XX.
Am I making this up?
All right, Neil Marshall marriages. No, we're gonna figure out.
I must be crazy.
We need some hot goss on this podcast, on this episode.
That time I called out Matt Lauer.
Yeah. Axel Carolyn. Okay.
Yeah, I thought he was married to Axel Carolyn.
He was until 2016.
Oh, okay. Well, so I was right. Okay, good. I feel vindicated now.
So she was Tales of Halloween.
Tales of Halloween.
Yes.
Damn it.
Yeah, and she worked with him. Yeah, on Doomsday and.
I thought she was on XX. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Tell you what, though, I like his movies better when he was with her. But hopefully they're all happy.
Yes.
That's what's most important. This is better than the last movie he did, The Reckoning. Which
I haven't seen that either.
Yeah, don't. So here's the thing. He made a bomb, critically and commercially, with
Doomsday.
Hellboy. Oh, well, Doomsday too, but Hellboy was kind of another big...
Oh my God, he did that Hellboy movie.
So remember his career. So yeah, he started off with like Dog Soldiers.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
And?
No, I did. I wanted to like it because I like everybody involved, and I like David Harbour as Hellboy.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I know some people have kind of. I've seen some people. It's got its fans, but no, I didn't hate it, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
So it
Fair
bombed.
enough.
It bombed. So there's part of me that likes that he's gone back. He's kind of gone back to the well. He's done what we've said, like Peter Jackson should do, which is kind of go back and make something a little smaller. Go back to your
I think
roots.
it's good for directors to do it on occasion.
So he's done that a couple times. This feels like he's going back. There's a little bit of The Descent in here. There's a little bit of Dog Soldiers in here, but also like it is really cheap. I'm talking like it feels at times like a sci-fi SYFY movie, and maybe it's because it has Jamie Bamber from Battlestar Galactica.
That must be it.
It has some really really poor CGI. The monster is kind of dull. I know I sound like I hate it. I didn't hate it because it's watchable. Like I finished it. This was on Shudder, and honestly though, I don't know if I would have finished it if it wasn't directed by Neil Marshall, who I was a fan of back in the day. It's got some decent gore, but I didn't like this. But what I wanted to do here,
yes,
Neil Marshall. I've got some directors. He was a part. I mean, you remember when those first two movies
Splat
of
Pack.
Yeah, or is that yeah. I've got some names here, and some of them are involved in what you're talking about, that kind of Splat Pack.
Yeah,
and some of them may be kind of just outside of that.
Right.
But do you remember the hype around O'Neill among certain genre fans?
Oh yeah.
After Dog Soldiers and especially The Descent, I think.
Well, So yeah, I think usually you have to have that 1-2 combo, right? Because people can get hyped about a movie like a debut feature, right? I'll use Jordan Peele,
right?
Like Get Out, like people were like losing it over Get Out, right? And of course people were excited to see what he did next, but he was not Jordan Peele, the horror maestro, until he had 2 back-to-back that people generally liked, right? Same goes with like Eli Roth as a perfect example of that. Like Eli did Cabin Fever, and it was like a lower budget like movie that kind of took off, and people were interested in him. But then once he hit Hostel after that, people were like, Eli Roth is the next. You know what I'm saying?
I remember Eli Roth as a good example because he was getting hyped as like the next. I want to say after Cabin Fever, like there wasn't there someone calling him like the next. Oh, what was it? What were they? Or the next master of horror? I thought Sam Raimi was the one in the pull quote, but I'm probably wrong. But you get the idea. I remember they put it in there because I think it was a pull quote from Peter Jackson.
Yes.
Who called him like the next great voice in horror.
Yes.
So there were, and I'm talking about, I've got the group I've pulled from is kind of the 2000s to the mid 2000s.
Yes.
Early 2000s to the mid 2000s. 2000 to about 2005, maybe a little bit of 2006 in here.
Okay.
I want to start with Neil Marshall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you.
Sure.
And we're going to talk a little bit about each of these people for quick. And I'm just going to ask, do you think they lived up to the hype? Do you think they exceeded the hype? Or do you think they did not live up to the hype?
Oh, man.
All right. So first up, we're going to talk about Neil Marshall. And I'm talking, like, let's put ourselves, like, around the time Dog Soldiers and The Descent have come out. Like, so do you think since then, in the last 20 years, I think now we can judge fairly, do you think Neil Marshall has lived up to the promise and the hype of those two movies?
No.
Do you need and if you need a refresher on what he's done since those, you can let me know.
I know. I mean, I didn't know what his
or
last
anyone,
movie
yeah.
was. But, no, he didn't. I mean, not as far as being the next great horror director, which I think a lot of people thought he was going to be, including myself. I had him on like this like mental list. I might have even written down the list at some point of like guys I want to keep like watch their careers. No, I mean he's had a successful career in terms of like he did a ton of Game of Thrones.
Right.
Some of the better episodes. So I mean it's not like the guy hasn't been a success. It's just he hasn't lived up to that being one of the next great horror voices. No. And I think it's a combination of things. I think probably Doomsday was the first blow, I think, to that. He had a bit of a higher budget and it was kind of a bigger movie, and it seemed like it was one of those things that he was like really wanted to do, like a passion thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes when an up-and-coming director dives into the passion project too early, it kind of, and I could be wrong, it might not be a passion project, but it had that vibe to me. Like it was
it's one of those kind of movies that's going for camp a lot of the time too. There's a great moment in it though where they're eating people and Fine Young Cannibals is playing in the background.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, I had a ton of fun with Doomsday in the theater.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those things that was very much, its tongue was planted in its cheek.
It doesn't follow up on the promise, I think, of those first two movies.
Yeah.
You know, I think he needed one or two more solid,
straightforward
horror stories.
Stuff like The Descent, because The Descent to me is...
Because Dog Soldiers can be silly at times, too.
And that's kind of what I was going with The Lair. Is like, I don't want to knock it too much for some of the silly I've seen people knock it for the silly dialogue and stuff, but like, I don't know, Dog Soldiers is kind of
it's cheesy. There's a goofiness to it,
as well.
Yeah.
I think The Descent is a pretty great straight up horror.
It's so good.
I think The Descent is a classic of that time.
It's so good.
Period. And I think it's his best movie still by far.
Yes. So no, I would say no, it did not. Sorry, Neil.
I'm with you. I'm gonna say no. I do. He has done some TV work. He did a little bit of Hannibal, Centurion since then. The thing with Neil Marshall is when you throw that Carpenter font on your movies like he does, you're inviting some comparisons.
For sure.
And that's kind of, and honestly, that kind of, after those first couple of movies, especially Dog Soldiers feels a little bit like an Assault on Precinct 13.
Absolutely.
And
and The Descent has some vibes of some of that Carpenter stuff in terms of because that's a siege movie too.
Siege movie, a team of people having
team
to overcome
of professionals, and then it's got that ending, that Carpenter-esque ending that really, well, I guess depending on which version you're watching, but really
the Carpenter font shows up again in the Lair.
No.
So it's obvious, but the Lair feels a little bit like Ghost of Mars Carpenter. Then he's jumped right to late stage.
We've entered late stage Marshall / Carpenter.
Yeah, he's done some Westworld. Yeah, I'm gonna say no, and I know this segment might be a little mean, but hey, that's what it is. You mentioned him earlier. Let's move on. Eli Roth.
He's
an interesting case to me because I actually like. I was just gonna say I like him more than I used to. Like, I was kind of annoyed because he was the most hyped of these directors, and we mentioned a little bit how and why, but
he was like. I remember the hype for Eli Roth being like Quentin Tarantino levels of like.
Well, Tarantino was one of them, one of the people doing it. Yeah,
I don't like Eli Roth as a person, as far as I can tell. He kind of seems obnoxious to me. Well, maybe I would if I got to meet him, but I don't think I would. But this is a tricky one, and I will say he did live up to the promise, and here's why. I never liked Eli Roth's movies. Like, Cabin Fever is fun, and but I never loved Cabin Fever. I thought it was fun, and it was a nice throwback to like that style of horror movie. And the same goes for Hostel. I thought Hostel was a really strong, just absolutely balls to wall brutal movie. I never had the desire to watch Hostel more than the one or two times. Maybe I watched it twice. I can't even... Like, I think I only watched it once, and I was like, I'm good. Hostel 2, same thing. But Eli Roth has continued to, like... Whether it's behind the camera or just, like, as a horror film commentator in a lot of ways, he's maintained his position... in horror, I think,
and in your mind, he's
still a name in horror, and it's like Rob Zombie too, and I think he's on your list, right?
He will, yes, he'll be.
So like it is like Rob, where his stuff's never been my favorite anyway, but like for fans of his stuff, I think people still love Eli Roth's stuff. Like Green Inferno was fun.
He directed Knock Knock, which I think is a modern trash classic.
He's a genius.
Seriously, I'm not joking. I'm looking at it. I used to think
Knock Knock kind of rules.
Hostel Part 2, you and I both went in. We did an episode on Hostel Part 2, and we were both looking forward to it because in our heads, I think we both were like, this is his best movie. And then we watched it and we're like, it didn't hold up.
No, it doesn't.
Like we thought.
There's one scene in Hostel 2 that's incredible. Yeah.
Oh
my God.
Well, that's always been with him. Because there's
I know,
one,
even Green Inferno, like there's one sequence in Green Inferno where I'm like, oh my god.
It's like he has one great scene in his head
and
when
he
he
builds
sits
it around.
and like that's what, because Cabin Fever has that scene in the bath.
It's got the all-timer scene.
Yeah, so
the rest of it's kind of like there.
But man, like the stuff that sticks with you,
It's true.
Rob's like he's like a good WWE show.
Yeah.
Where like sometimes there's only one great thing.
There's like a good match.
Yes, but man,
the rest of it's kind of bad. But man, that was a good match.
But when it hits, and that's Eli Roth for you. But
it's true.
I don't know. Knock Knock is a blast. Knock Knock might be my favorite movie of his.
Knock Knock is so funny. Like it is, and I can't like it. It feels like such an homage to like 90s steamy thrillers.
Yes.
With like dangerous women.
Right.
Like Fatal Attraction or like Basic Instinct, like those kind of movies.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure if that's what he was aiming for. I can't tell with him. And that makes Knock Knock even funnier.
That's the thing is like I think that's what makes it great.
Like
kind of trashy.
Has he talked
movie.
like was this meant to be kind of trashy or was this like
I'm sure it was to an extent, but I also think like there's something about Keanu who is always towing that line in a lot of his movies where you're like, is this a good performance?
I know.
But there's such
Keanu,
a charm to him though.
Yeah.
And believe me, Keanu's been legitimately great in movies.
Absolutely.
But
he's one of the like most watchable actors, I think, like.
But when you get him in a movie like this, especially,
is this good?
You're like, what is he doing here? So you get that mixture of these things, and then you get the yeah.
Am I supposed to be laughing right now, or
the two female performances are very good at that as well.
Yeah,
it is, and it has one of the funniest endings of all time.
It was free fucking pizza.
All right, he has met expectations. Yeah. Maybe even
I won't say exceeded, but he's met.
I won't give strong exceed. And honestly, I've liked his history of horror stuff. His Thanksgiving short on is my favorite of those trailers from Death Proof. That might be one of the best things he's ever done.
It's phenomenal.
All right, we're not gonna. You know what? Let's just knock out Rob Zombie real quick. Because you mentioned him earlier. He's another interesting one. Because. Yeah, House of the Thousand Corpses is what I'm thinking of, and I recently rewatched it. I always kind of have fun with it, but I'm like, this is not great, and it's always how I felt about it, which is that movie, if you remember, was in the can forever. Like it was done, and then the hype behind that grew because people were seeing it and talking about it.
Well, and then that was like, the internet rumors were like, oh, this movie's banned. I remember that being a whole thing. It was like, oh, this movie, they won't release it in theaters.
Yeah, they can't get the rating.
I'm like, I don't know if that, like even back then I was like, really? And then once I saw it, I was like, no, that's not the case. Anyway. But I did not like House of a Thousand Corpses. I don't like House of a Thousand Corpses. I think it kind of sucks. I'm sorry, fans. I'm not a fan of it.
So you didn't like it at the time?
When
it came out?
No.
Okay.
I remember all the hype, and I was like jacked to go see it. And then me and my dad went and saw it, and we were both like, "What the fuck was that?" Like, there's some cool visual stuff going on, but
that's nice of father-son bonding, though.
Yeah, that's the kind of bonding we used to do, man. We'd hit up those kind of movies.
But and even like that sucked.
Yeah, we were both like that. That kind of sucked. Then we went and got some lunch, and we called it a day. There's some cool visual stuff, but it's just a fever dream music video of a movie, and it's not very good, like, in my opinion. Man, did Rob... I think Rob's kind of in the same boat with me for the Eli Roth thing. Like, Rob's never been my guy. I've admittedly never been a fan of his stuff. Devil's Rejects is certainly, of the movies of his I've seen, probably the one I think is the best. But even after rewatching Devil's Rejects, it's just so fucking oppressive that I can't get into it. The first time I saw it, I remember being like, "Holy smokes!" Like, okay, Rob can tell a story and direct and and I still think that, but I have no place in I have no room in my life for the kind of stuff that that kind of. I just don't. It's just gross and I don't know. It's too much for me. I liked 31. Quite a bit. That's my favorite movie of his since
Devil's Rejects. Yeah,
I have not seen 3 from Hell, so
31 is better.
Okay.
Yeah, because I kind of like 31 as well.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I'd say he's lived up to it. Rob Zombie's career has been a lot like. It's interesting. I feel like he's got a career that's similar to somebody else. Kevin Smith. It's a lot like it's been like Kevin Smith's like fast like in a more of like a in a truncated form where like he put out like the Indie Darling thing, like the one that like Indie Darling for its audience. You know, certainly the audience was smaller for House of a Thousand Corpses than Clerks, but you get the idea. He put out that kind of with a ton of buzz, low budget movie, a ton of buzz. And then he started releasing stuff that was like critics were a little mixed on it, but his audience was still very much into it. And then, you know, Rob went and did like the Halloween stuff and the Lords of Salem, and that kind of wound up being like Kevin Smith's like Jersey Girl cop-out era,
right?
Where like even the fans were like, I don't know. And then he went back to the well. And I don't even mean that in like a negative way. Sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
Like Smith went back to the View Askew stuff, and Rob has gone back to the Devil's Rejects.
The Devil's Rejects, that same, all in the same thing.
So I feel like there's definitely a parallel there. I think for his fan base and stuff, I think he's lived up to the promise for those that like Rob.
So I'm gonna say he is.
I didn't see the Munsters though.
I have seen the Munsters, and I will bring up the Munsters because I didn't hate it, but it's not good. I think I talked a little bit about it here. It's his sweetest movie. It's like a love letter to his wife in some ways. Like it's a really sweet movie. It's just not very funny. Yeah. Rob's movies can be funny, but not always in the way he like. He's not a sitcom writer. Rob is not. Like, he's not going to write a Munsters episode. No. The thing with Rob Zombie is, I'm going to say he's met my expectations from those first couple movies for some of the same reasons as you said. I wasn't crazy about House of. I think I probably liked it a little bit more than you. Yeah. But I could convince myself that he's almost exceeded him because he has stayed so like he has a pretty consistent voice, same kind of like
he does.
Yeah, Eli Roth though, like his has gotten lost a couple times. Like he did that Death Wish remake, and I'm like, this does not feel like Eli Roth. No. Rob, even in something like The Munsters, like you could feel
it's like, a Rob Zombie.
Rob Zombie is making this movie. So there's part of me that thinks like I could convince myself that he's exceeded my expectations because like he's stayed Rob Zombie pretty much throughout.
Through and through.
Yes, and you're right. Like there's certain stuff he's always wanted to make. Like he's always wanted to make that Marx Brothers movie. He always wanted to make a on the last days of I think Groucho Marx. Isn't
there a baseball movie you wanted to make at one point?
Philly Flyers hockey. He wanted to make a movie about the 70s Flyers, but like he just can't. Like no one's gonna hire him from that. So he's found a way to continue to say what he wants to say in the genre of horror. So I'm gonna say his expectations, even though I'm not crazy about everything he's done. Sure. Like he's continued on.
I would agree with him with Met. Yes, absolutely.
We're gonna cut that last segment I talked about before the show because we're running. But like I like this segment right now, so we're gonna keep going with this. Next one here is Edgar Wright, who Shaun of the Dead would have come out around this time. This is one where he wasn't really lumped in with a Splat Pack, but he had done stuff like Spaced. And I know he hasn't worked in the horror genre throughout.
I get why he's on this list though. Yeah, I understand why he's. Edgar's exceeded for me. And I think the reason why is my introduction to Edgar Wright was Shaun of the Dead, like a lot of people's. I did not watch Spaced. And I guess, you know, I loved Shaun of the Dead. I still think it holds up. I think it's very funny and very sweet and kind of nasty too, and I love that. But I guess I didn't know what my expectations were for Edgar Wright because I didn't know what kind of filmmaker he was. Like, after I saw that movie, I went, what is he going to do? Like, is the zombie thing a one-off? Is he a comedy guy? Is he, like, who is Edgar Wright? And after Shaun, he did Hot Fuzz, which I liked. I don't love Hot Fuzz. I like Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz is what my brother and I love. Hot Fuzz. Yeah, and I think it's because we're such big Bad Boys 2 fans.
For sure. Yeah. No, I like Hot Fuzz. I don't love Hot Fuzz. And then what did he do after that? It was Scott Pilgrim.
So he did Scott Pilgrim. He also did. I don't want you to forget this. He did my second favorite fake trailer in Grindhouse. He did Don't,
which is fantastic.
He did Scott Pilgrim,
and I like Scott Pilgrim.
The World's End.
I love The World's End.
Yeah, Baby Driver. He did a documentary about the Sparks Brothers.
I like Baby Driver.
And then most recently he did Last Night in Soho.
I've not seen that yet.
I think you should watch that. I think you would like that.
Okay, cool. I've heard it's kind of giallo-ish, right?
Yes.
Ish.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I won't say much more about it. I liked it. I know there are some people in our Discord that weren't crazy about it, but I think it's. I'll talk to it. I'll talk about it. Yeah, you go ahead. Sorry.
But no, he's exceeded for me because he's proven he is a director that can dabble in so many different genres and still maintain what I think is a pretty consistent voice throughout. Most of his movies feel like they, even without Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, do feel like Edgar Wright movies. Like even like Baby Driver feels like an Edgar Wright movie to me. I felt his voice coming through in that movie. Yeah, I think he's exceeded. He's done way more than I ever would have anticipated when Sean came out.
I think it's some of his talent visually is evident in Shaun of the Dead, but I think it really Scott Pilgrim versus the World for me is where it really explodes.
The movie's kind of great too.
I
know why people think it's annoying or whatever because it's got kind of it's got a following that I think can sometimes be maybe.
Yes, and Michael Cera around the time was getting some flack. I like Michael Cera quite a bit.
Me too.
And honestly, it is made for. It's not a movie for everybody. It's a cult movie.
Yeah.
I saw Scott Pilgrim versus the World. That might be the movie I have seen the most. Like I lived in Chicago at the time, and I went and saw that movie in theaters like 3 or 4 times. Like I loved it. And I loved watching it in the theater because of the visuals. And then I haven't seen it in a long time. And then the Black Sheep song by Metric, the performance by Brie Larson came on like YouTube.
Oh.
And I clicked on it, and I'm like, I got sucked into it again. I'm like, oh, I gotta watch this movie again.
Yeah, it's a sweet movie.
I'm with you. I think he has exceeded my expectations.
Yeah.
I liked Shaun of the Dead when it came out, but if I'm going to place myself in my shoes around that time, I probably would have been more excited about like what's Rob Zombie got cooking. And I like Shaun of the Dead quite a bit, but like it felt like I'm like this is like a parody. It's like a Dawn of the Dead parody.
Yeah.
Shaun of the Dead hit me as I got older. And it's a movie that I think stayed with me, and ever since then he's dabbled. World's End is kind of like a Body Snatcher style.
World's End has some horror sci-fi stuff.
Yes.
For sure. And then, of course, my understanding is Last Night
in Soho is another one. But I would say with Last Night in Soho, I think that's a very mature movie without giving too much away. I think it captures that era really well. It's gorgeous to look at. And I think it's really, I said it a lot of ways, it's kind of like a movie about reckoning with your heroes being shitty and like the people in your head
that you've built up to be
something else in your head from when you were young being kind of gross and shitty. And it kind of wrestles with that. I thought it was a really mature, smart movie. I think it's his best movie. But it might not be my favorite, which is
No, I got you though.
Yeah. But I've never disliked the movie. I'm going to say exceeded. All right.
Yes.
Oh boy. Here's a big one. We're halfway through, I think. We got a big one here. Zack Snyder, who directed Dawn of the Dead 04.
God, that's a weird one, man.
He's had a interesting career.
Zack has exceeded my expectations.
Okay. And do you think it's because
I'm not saying that I have not liked most of Zack Snyder's work, if I'm being completely honest. I've liked less than I have liked. However, as much as I enjoy the Dawn of the Dead remake, and I still think it's a ton of fun, I never would have guessed that he would have gone on to be the director he is. So he's exceeded whatever expectations I had for him.
And you love Dawn of the Dead, so like he exceeded your expectations with that movie.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was already like, oh, Zack Snyder, all right, cool. Like he's earned my respect. And what did he do right after Dawn? Was it 300?
I think it was 300. I'm pulling up his filmography.
300 kind of rules.
Can I just mention, I hate the new IMDb so much.
Yeah, it's terrible.
You've got to like filter
to
stuff. It's awful. All right, I'm gonna run through his filmography for you.
300 rules.
Yeah, I think 300's
visually it's gorgeous.
Yeah, so he did Dawn, 300, Watchmen, Sucker Punch.
You know what? I'll say it. I don't mind Watchmen. I know a lot of people don't like that movie, but I actually think it's not a terrible.
Watchmen is a weird property for me, where it's like the one thing, and I'm not like even the comic. I'm not like I really really like the comic, but the only time Watchmen, and I'm including the TV show, for me like the only time it's ever worked for me is in comic form. Like it's one of those like.
Well, that's
it's the
Alan Moore would be so proud of you.
It's his argument
for saying that.
And, well, we were going to talk a little bit. We'll talk about James Gunn here in a little bit because I got him on the list too. But he's going to do Swamp Thing, and like I'm betting James Gunn really likes the Alan Moore Swamp Thing, and like there are issues of that comic that are like some of like the great comic book issues, especially with Swamp Thing. And I'm like, you can't translate this stuff.
Yeah,
this works, and this is what makes comics beautiful. And so it's what makes every art medium beautiful.
There are certain stories that are told in a certain way for a certain medium that can't be properly told.
Right.
By
and that's
another.
how always. Sorry.
So I get it.
Got
I'm
sidetracked.
with you.
Yeah.
But I actually think that what I'm going to defend Snyder on the Watchmen thing a little bit because I actually think what he did from like a style perspective and a storytelling perspective actually winds up making Watchmen the movie kind of ape superhero movies in the same way that Alan Moore is playing with superhero comics.
Okay.
Snyder's doing it from a movie perspective, whereas Moore was doing it from comic books. Like his design for his characters, the story beats of Watchmen feel very comic booky. The Snyder version of that story feels very superhero movie to me.
Yeah.
So it kind of works for me. Like I don't love the movie, but I do think it's better than a lot of people give it credit for. And Jackie Earle Haley as Rorschach's like
my
God. Actually, Patrick Wilson's really good as Night Owl too.
The performances of that movie are all.
I think it's a better movie than people give it credit for.
It's been a while since I've sat down.
I advise people to rewatch because I think it's better than a lot of people might remember. There is like a longer version too, which I would never normally suggest, but it actually is better. Anyway, what's after Watchmen for old Zach?
Okay, so he did. He did the Owls movie, The Owls of Ga'Hoole.
Never saw it.
Sucker Punch.
Didn't like it.
Man of Steel.
Visually beautiful. Didn't like Man of
This
Steel.
is when we start to get into his DC stuff, which Batman versus Superman.
You lose me. Yeah, once he gets
Justice League is kind of.
I don't even know whose movie that is.
Zack Snyder's, and then Army of the Dead was his last one. So he's come back to the horror genre.
Army of the Dead was okay.
We watched that. Army of the Dead is
okay.
Bloated. It's got that Netflix bloat to it.
Yeah,
I think, but
it was okay.
Army of the Dead's
I had fun with it.
It's my favorite thing in a long time from him.
Yeah. No, he's exceeded. Once again, like I said, I never would have thought the guy who directed, even though I quite enjoyed the Dawn remake, I never would have thought that guy would wind up being the guy who directed the first big screen Batman and Superman movie. I just never would have guessed it.
Right.
So there you have it.
And I would never have guessed the guy who took over. I remember how controversial that Dawn of the Dead remake was amongst fans, like
myself included.
For those not around the internet at the time, I can't think of a modern day equivalent to something like this. But
We hated that guy before we even knew him.
Yes. Again, we hated James Gunn as well. And look at the both of them. Look at the both of them now. But for him to inspire such a fervent fan base now, looking back at where he was in 2004, I'm going to go with Met. Well, so it's tough. So I see what you're saying with exceeded, but now my personal taste is coming into play, and I just haven't liked a lot of his stuff since a lot of his work since then. I'm with you. I like 300, but since then I've been really mixed at best on a lot of the stuff he's done. Until Army, which I quite liked. I'm going to say for my own personal expectations, he's met them. But I understand your point because, in a way, he has become one of the more powerful people in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I would not have expected that from him.
No. I never would have guessed he would have had the fam. Like, I mean, it might be mostly bots, but, like, I've never seen, for better or worse, I'd never seen a more devoted following to a director, I don't think, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the last time. Anyway.
So we got three more here. This one we're going to stay in the DC verse.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about James Wan.
Wan, yeah, okay.
So Wan would have been James Wan. I'm trying to get I'm going to pull his filmography up real quick for you.
Yeah, I'm going to need a I know his movies, but God, this is a weird one though, dude. This is the hardest one.
So, because he would have started in the mid-2000s, which is what I pulled from with Saw.
Well, Saw would have been his first.
And then I think he goes right...
Dead Silence.
He goes right into Dead Silence,
and
right?
And then Death Sentence.
So, here's the thing with Wan, and I'm going to...
It's such a weird filmography.
Yeah, I'm going to go... He's exceeded my expectations personally, because there is stuff of his... that I seriously like. I absolutely love a couple of his movies. And we talked a little bit about him before, but but the thing is, what's weird about him is, I just watched Death Sentence a couple weeks ago.
Death Sentence rules.
Oh my god!
It's like a revelation.
It's
like
awesome.
It's so much better than I like. I liked it back then, but it's like even better. Than,
So like
people need to revisit Death Sentence.
There is stuff on here I love. And the Conjuring movies,
which ones did he direct though?
Okay, so
the first
I'm going to go
right?
through it. Yeah,
you got to help me when we get into the Conjuring and Insidious stuff. I need help because
Saw directed, Dead Silence directed, Death Sentence directed, Insidious 1 directed, Conjuring 1 directed, Insidious Chapter 2 he directed.
Okay,
then he went to Furious 7. Then he went to Conjuring 2. Then Aquaman, and then, oh my god, I wish Malignant is his last movie. I wish I could, and then he's produced a lot of stuff as well. That's
I still haven't seen Malignant.
He's created his own horror universe. Like, he's the most, he might be the most powerful guy in horror right now, right?
Yeah, probably. I think the only person who has more, maybe power to, get something greenlit without even, having the studio look at it would be Peele. Just because, I think, I mean, one, I think would still have to pitch something. I like Peele. I feel like would just be I got a new script. Who wants it?
Good point. Yeah,
that's the only thing I would say. But from a I mean, James Wan certainly he has a whole empire under him at this point. It feels like he's got a whole
he's created a Conjuring universe. He's been
involved in the Fast and the Furious thing.
Fast and Furious. DC. He's with Warner Brothers. He's pretty. I mean, he's a pretty go-to guy with Warner.
Oh, he
Brothers.
did Aquaman 2?
Yeah, he's got Aquaman 2 coming out.
Yeah. Yes.
Megan, he's a producer on Megan, right? Which is killing it.
Exceeded. Yeah. Now that we've talked about it, it's exceeded. I think both the first two Conjuring movies are phenomenal. I think Insidious 1 is pretty good. I think Insidious 2 rules.
I'm with you. Yeah, it's weird. The Conjuring and the Insidious movies, I like the sequels.
The sequel's better.
Yeah.
Death Sentence is the shit. Death Sentence kind of sucks. It's a sophomore effort. Feels very sophomore effort.
It feels like, honestly, I think it's kind of unnecessary because Saw was such a
Saw's kicks ass.
Saw is like a new metal, like a hardcore, a new metal.
And then he lightens up too much.
And then Dead Silence is kind of like a correction. Dead Silence, he's trying to make a throwback to a lot of old school horror
kind of hammery stuff.
Yeah.
He it's like when the metal band, the new metal band came out with just a record that kicked ass, and then their sophomore thing came out and they added too many melodies.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, they pussed out. That's kind of what Dead Silence feels like. But yeah, Juan's cool. Aquaman's good too.
He performed a miracle with Furious 7 too, if you recall.
I don't understand how they pulled it together.
Because I don't even. It's one of the lesser Fast and Furious movies, but the fact that it even is watchable with all the crap that went on in that movie,
crazy.
Yeah,
it kind of ends up being kind of a touching movie.
It is. I honestly, I don't think it's a great movie by any means, and I think it's like I said, one of the lesser ones. But it is at the end of it, it hits what it needs to hit, and
yeah, absolutely.
All right, 2 more here. This one is so he would have. I'm trying to. Where did I pull this? Because I'm trying to remember. I've got.
I gotta see Malignant.
I was gonna say. I wish Do
you like Malignant?
It was my favorite movie of a couple of years ago. Period.
Yeah.
I don't even want to say a thing about it. I wish they had a DVD of it, so I could just let you borrow it because it is. You would love it. I'm just gonna.
I wonder what it's streaming on.
Probably it's on. HBO. It's well, who knows? Half the time they take stuff off of there, but I think HBO. But I want it on Blu-ray, and I want a Scream Factory.
Damn, that's high praise.
Yeah, Blu-ray that because I seriously, and anybody I know who I have told to watch it, I think Nick is a big Malignant fan as well.
I finally got to pull the trigger on that.
Yeah, so this I pulled. One was The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Scott Derrickson is my next. Director.
Derrickson, oh man,
because we're getting out of the Splat Pack right now.
God, all these guys got sucked into superheroes.
Yeah,
stuff.
Emily. Exorcism. He had done Hellraiser Inferno before this, of course.
Yeah.
But Exorcism. Emily Rose would have been 2005, so he's kind of borderline. There wasn't a ton of hype around Scott Derrickson. I have him on here just because.
It makes sense to have him in the list. I
recently directed The Black Phone, I should say, and Doctor Strange, the first Doctor Strange.
Derrickson's almost. It's weird. I don't even know how I feel about it. It's Inferno's fine. Inferno's certainly one of the better Hellraiser movies, which is not saying a ton, but it's still kind of an enjoyable movie overall.
I like that movie. Yeah.
I don't love Sinister, if I'm being honest.
So there's
that really good bit where like Ethan Hawke watches the snuff film of the guy running over somebody with a lawnmower.
He and Hawk would work well together. I'm with you on Sinister. Like there are moments in it, and I get why it has its fans base.
Yeah,
but I get kind of bored.
Yeah,
a lot of his early stuff. So like here's Inferno, Exorcism of Emily Rose, The Day the Earth Still remake, which is honestly one of the more boring movies I've ever seen.
The Keanu one.
Yeah,
he directed that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sinister, Deliver Us from Evil, Doctor Strange, and
which
then
one is
Black.
Deliver Us from Evil?
So is
that the Eric Bana one?
That's the one with Eric Bana, and I think I thought maybe Nikki lent me the book here.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say he exceeded my expectations, just because now that I think about it, like I probably didn't have much of any expectations. And I will say this for him: I think he has improved, like as he's gone further into his career. Like I think he's gotten better as a director.
I'll go ahead and say it exceeded as well, and I will state with the caveat that I've never been like that in love with his early stuff. Like I think I understand why he has the fan base it does, but it's not like my expectations were like crazy for it. Like I'll be honest, like even though I like Inferno, my expectations for the director of Hellraiser Inferno were never going to be overly high.
Right. I remember Exorcism of Emily Rose having some buzz at the time, but
I've never liked that movie.
Yeah, we watched that on here, and I was like,
I really wanted
still
to.
Doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work for me either.
Oh well. But
all right,
he's done well for himself. So
here's the final one, and this is another interesting one because I kind of cheated here a little bit, but I'm including his writing work, which would have been he was the writer for Romeo and Juliet, of course, and also the Dawn of the Dead remake, and also Scooby-Doo.
I love that Scooby-Doo movie, that first one.
Yeah, James Gunn. So Slither would have been his first movie as a director, which was 2006. So I kind of cheated with the mid-2000s things. Like I said, I remember him getting some buzz too for honestly, I remember him being around for Scooby-Doo because people were mad that the director, Raja Gosnell, of the Scooby-Doo movie kind of changed some of the edgier aspects of James Gunn's script.
Yeah, for sure.
At the time. And then the Dawn remake, and I still think that is a good marriage between writer and director.
Yes.
There, because I think they balance each other out.
I think Snyder is at his best when he's got a strong writer.
Yeah.
Either working with him or having written the script ahead of time. So
since then, Slither in 2006, Super in 2010, Guardians 1 and 2, The Suicide Squad, and of course, like he's done The Peacemaker as well, and the Guardians Holiday Special.
Yeah.
So, but he's gone beyond that in a lot of ways too. He's written a novel. He's done some stuff like PG Porn. Do you remember PG Porn?
Yeah, I do.
It's really good.
Did he direct Bright, or did he just?
He produced Bright. Yeah, he was. That
you ever see Bright? Or Brightburn.
Brightburn, yeah. Oh, Bright is the Will Smith.
Yeah.
I've not seen Bright, the Will Smith movie. I've seen Brightburn. Brightburn, I liked, but
I liked it too.
Yeah, I didn't love it.
Did you catch that sets up a shared universe thing? Okay, I thought so. Anyway,
I'm actually a big Super fan, and I think it has some elements that are horror-ish. It definitely.
I did not like Super the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I went into it having no idea what to expect, and I was like, what is this? I've rewatched it and I love it.
Slither's one of my favorite movies of
it's phenomenal.
That of the 2000s. Like I love Slither.
Slither is a throwback done right.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's exceeded. I think anybody who tries to say that James Gunn hasn't exceeded expectations, I think is kind of lying to themselves, or maybe doesn't like James Gunn because of certain recent
his
events.
It's funny. He's still got a little bit of that in him where I kind of cringe, and it's not even because I disagree with him. He said something yesterday, and I was reading a Hollywood Reporter.
He's too online.
Yeah. And he's also like, even in the Hollywood Reporter article I was reading, they called him out. Like they're like, he sounds like a writer. There was an anonymous like higher up because he bashed like the people before him at Warner Brothers. and like for how they handled Cavill. And I read it, I'm like, he's right, but I'm sitting here going like, you can't say these things, like you can't burn these bridges in Hollywood. So like he's still got a little bit of that in him where like, Jay's like, buddy, what are you doing? Like you got to learn how to play the game a little bit.
He's
It makes me wonder how some of this DC stuff is going to turn out for him, because now he's an executive, like he's an higher up and he's a writer.
Well, this is make or break for his career in a lot of ways. I think this is a gamble, and I get why he took the gamble, but he did Peacemaker.
Yeah.
And Peacemaker was very well received, I think, pretty much by everybody I've certainly interacted with. But Suicide Squad was kind of mixed from most of the people so it's not like he launched out of the park right out of the gate with the DC stuff. I hope it works out good for him. I really do.
I would not have expected him to be in charge of
it's a lot
comic book universe back in the day.
No.
I'll say this, and this is going to sound mean, and I actually don't mean it to be, because I respect a lot of what Kevin Smith has done.
Yeah.
And I think he's continued to do his own thing too, which I think is really cool. But when I was young and back in the 2000s, this career that James Gunn has had is kind of what I thought like Kevin Smith would be.
Yeah.
I thought Kevin Smith would be in charge of like if I knew there were going to be a bunch of DC or Marvel movies, I would have been like, oh, Kevin Smith will do one of those. Like he's perfect for that.
Joss Whedon and Kevin Smith would have been the two.
Those two guys, yeah. And
yep.
I definitely would have, because I would have probably even known James Gunn at the time. But like to see, but like this. He has done it, and he's done it through a lot of hard work and a lot of good work too. So.
Oh, absolutely. No, I know a lot of people aren't nuts about Gunn even before all this DC stuff started, and I get it. He's not for everybody, and he can be a voice that can sometimes be a lot,
a bit abrasive at times.
Yeah, for sure. And I've but I've criticized certain filmmakers that we've already talked about for their voices just feeling kind of grating to me. I think like Eli Roth sometimes can be that way for me, and so can Rob Zombie sometimes. And so it's just a taste thing.
Yeah.
I understand why some people are kind of like over James Gunn or don't like his stuff, but I do. So
I was say he's a filmmaker that I have continued to connect with like throughout. Like for me, like I have always liked his stuff.
And I can only speak for like our group of friends that we've talked to and stuff. Like, I remember Guardians 2 getting a little bit, like a fair amount of flack from the people that I, talked to about it after the fact. And I remember like I've always been like, I fucking love Guardians 2. Like,
I'm gonna say something that it's
kind of phenomenal. Like, I think it might be better than 1.
Guardians 2 is the last movie, a last form of entertainment. And this might say more about me, honestly, because I see people like posting in the Discord, the Alex's Tears Discord. Shout out to the criers. I'm not much of a crier when it comes to forms of entertainment.
Yes,
like movies and stuff. The end of Guardians 2 like got me. Like like for whatever it was, like it all hit me, and it still does when the Cat Stevens song kicks in. And like look out, like.
So the last time I watched that movie beginning to end. No, not the last time, but I saw it in the theater, and it totally hit me like you were saying. Like that ending hit me, just where it counted, and I remember I was sitting in the hospital room. It was the day after Josie was a day old.
Yeah,
and Nikki finally was getting some shut eye, right? And I was holding Josie, and she was falling asleep. And I was in a rocking chair in the delivery room. I was letting Nikki I said, I'll hold Josie and let her crash for a bit. And I was like super bored and looking for something to do. So I pulled up Netflix on my phone, and I was like, oh, sweet. They dropped like that day they dropped Civil War, Doctor Strange, and Guardians 2 on Netflix. And it was like, those were like the 3 newest ones that were had come out or whatever. And so I remember seriously, I always say the first movie I ever watched with Josie was Guardians 2, because she was kind of awake during it. She doesn't remember it obviously, but I remember that Cat Stevens song hitting, and mind you, the song's called Father and Son, but still, it hit again because I'm like, oh, I got my kid here with me, and I'm watching some Guardians too. It was nice. Yeah.
I recently watched in the last 2 weeks Everything Everywhere All at Once, and
Still have to see it.
The Last of Us episode 3, which people have been talking, both of those things, people are like, I've been crying the whole time. And I watched them, I'm like, this is very good. But I was stone-faced the entire time through both of them. And like, I felt bad about it. I'm like, what's not working?
Am I not human?
Like, I've seen Everything All at Once, you would love it.
I've heard it's great. Yeah.
It's terrific. I really did like it. But I'm like, this didn't make me cry. I just thought it was a nice, sweet movie. But you hit me with, he may have been your father, boy, but I'm your daddy.
You're like, ah!
Just waterworks. It's embarrassing.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
You hit me with Eddie Yondu, my favorite character.
Oh, and then Stallone shooting the fireworks. It's beautiful.
I'm done. I'm
It's
done.
beautiful.
It kills me. So
God.
there you go.
Love it.
Um,
What a way to close this out.
yeah, that was fun. Perfect. We'll figure something out for next time.
Yes.
Where can the people reach us, Willie?
horrormovieyearbook@gmail.com.
For mailbag questions.
Yeah. You want to know that? Hey, you want to know what movie it was? I'll tell you.
Is it a movie you also cried during?
No. No. I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
I'll just tell you off air. I'm not giving you guys any hints. If you want to know, send us a nice email. Include that question. Yeah, we're on Twitter at HM Yearbook, Facebook, Instagram, all those good things. Thank you guys for joining us. Next time we'll do something. We don't know what we're doing. We're winging it. We might talk about a movie. We might chit-chat some more about just horror stuff. You'll know when we know. You'll know when you listen to it.
Yes.
Enjoy.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody.